What if a country could be bought, not with treaties or armies, but with cash paid directly to its citizens? This is not the plot of a political thriller. It is a real idea that was reportedly discussed within the United States government. The target was Greenland, the world's largest island. The proposal was startlingly direct. U.S. officials considered offering lump sum payments to every person in Greenland. The reported figures ranged from $10,000 to as high as $100,000 per person. This was a new and unconventional approach to geopolitics. It turned a diplomatic question into a raw financial transaction. The logic behind this idea was to bypass traditional state-to-state negotiations. Instead of making an offer to Denmark, which holds sovereignty over Greenland, the plan was to appeal directly to the 57,000 people who live there. The hope, according to sources, was that this financial incentive could persuade Greenlanders to vote for independence from Denmark. Once Greenland was a sovereign nation, it would be free to negotiate a new relationship with the United States. This could take the form of a compact of free association or even full integration as a U.S. territory. The concept was as simple as it was controversial. The headlines that followed were sensational. "Trump wants to buy Greenland," they screamed, echoing a historical precedent from 1946 when the U.S. did try to purchase the island. But this new proposal was different. It was less about buying land and more about influencing a democratic process. Why Greenland? To understand the intense American interest, you must look at a map. Greenland is not just a vast expanse of ice. It is a permanent, unsinkable aircraft carrier in the middle of the North Atlantic. Its location is of immense strategic importance. More than 2/3 of the island lies within the Arctic Circle. It sits as a massive sentinel guarding the sea lanes between North America and Europe. This geographic reality has made Greenland a cornerstone of North American defense for nearly a century, a fact that has only grown more critical in recent years. The United States has maintained a military presence in Greenland since World War II. The most significant installation today is Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base. Located in the island's remote northwest, it is the U.S. Armed Forces' northernmost installation. Pituffik is not just a relic of the Cold War. It is a vital, active hub for modern defense. Its powerful radar systems provide early warning against ballistic missiles. They track satellites and monitor space for NATO. In an age of renewed great power competition, control over this piece of Arctic real estate is considered non-negotiable for the Pentagon. Climate change has added a new layer of strategic urgency. As the polar ice caps melt, new shipping routes are opening in the Arctic. Northern Sea Route, Northwest Passage. These routes are becoming increasingly navigable. The nation that controls the gateways to these passages will hold significant economic and military leverage. Greenland's coastline borders these emerging channels. Its deep water fjords could one day host naval fleets or commercial ports. This strategic value is not lost on America's rivals. Russia has been aggressively remilitarizing its Arctic coastline, reopening Soviet-era bases and building new icebreakers. China, declaring itself a near-Arctic state in 2018, has been actively seeking a foothold in the region through investment and scientific expeditions. Former President Trump pointed to this directly, stating his concern over Russian and Chinese ships operating around the island. From a national security perspective, ensuring Greenland remains firmly within the Western sphere of influence is seen as a paramount objective. It is a defense of the continent's northern flank. This wasn't just a fleeting thought. The White House press secretary at the time acknowledged officials were looking at what a potential purchase might look like. National security aides were involved in the discussions. The seriousness of the proposal, even if it never became official policy, sent a clear signal. The United States was willing to think far outside the box to secure its interests in the rapidly changing Arctic. It was a move that would have far-reaching consequences, sparking reactions from Copenhagen to Nuuk and across the capitals of America's closest allies. The stage was set for a new kind of great game. Greenland's importance extends far below its icy surface. The island is believed to hold one of the world's largest untapped reserves of minerals. This includes not just traditional resources like iron ore, lead, zinc, but also a wealth of rare earth elements. These are the building blocks of the modern digital economy. They are essential components in everything from smartphones, laptops, advanced military hardware. The demand for these minerals is skyrocketing, and the global supply chain is a point of major geopolitical friction that makes Greenland incredibly valuable. The term rare earth elements refers to a group of 17 metals that are crucial for high-tech manufacturing. They are used in the powerful magnets needed for wind turbines, electric vehicle motors. They are vital for fiber optic cables, medical imaging devices, precision-guided weapons. For decades, the world has relied on a single country for the vast majority of these materials: China. This dominance gives Beijing immense leverage. It can control prices and restrict exports, creating a significant vulnerability for Western economies and defense industries that depend on a steady supply. The quest for a secure, alternative source of rare earths has become a top priority for the United States and its allies. Greenland is seen as a potential solution to this strategic dependency. Its geological surveys indicate substantial deposits of neodymium, praseodymium, and other critical minerals. Developing these resources could break China's stranglehold on the market. It would create a more resilient supply chain for the technologies that will power the 21st century, from green energy to national security systems. The potential mineral wealth has turned Greenland into a magnet for international interest. Mining companies and state-backed enterprises from around the world are exploring opportunities. This creates a competitive environment where economic influence can translate into political sway. For the U.S., ensuring that its allies and partners, not its strategic competitors, are the ones to develop these resources is a key goal. The proposal to offer cash directly to Greenland's 57,000 residents was the most unconventional part of the American plan. It was a tactic designed to trigger a specific political outcome, a vote for independence. U.S. officials reportedly discussed using payments to induce Greenlanders to sever their constitutional ties with Denmark. Once Greenland became a sovereign nation, it would be legally free to enter into a new arrangement with the United States. This could be a compact of free association, or COFA, similar to agreements the U.S. has with several Pacific Island nations. A COFA is a unique political status. The associated state is technically independent and self-governing. It grants the United States exclusive military access and authority over its defense and security. In exchange, the U.S. provides substantial economic assistance and allows its citizens to live and work in the United States. From a U.S. perspective, this model seemed like a perfect fit for Greenland. It would secure American military and strategic interests while providing a financial lifeline to a newly independent Greenland. The direct payments would be the catalyst. Figures discussed ranged from $10,000 to $100,000 per person. For 57,000 people, even the lower figure would be over $500 million. The higher figure would approach $6 billion. The money was meant to make leaving Denmark financially attractive. Greenland relies heavily on an annual block grant from Copenhagen, which funds much of its public services. The American payment could replace that subsidy and provide a foundation for a new economy. But the transactional approach carried immense risks. It could be seen as a cynical attempt to buy allegiance. For a population with strong cultural identity and a long history grappling with colonialism, being paid to switch patrons was deeply problematic. The tactic risked feeling degrading, reducing self-determination to a cash-for-sovereignty deal. It was a high-stakes gamble that assumed money could override culture, history, and national pride, a calculation that proved to be, profoundly misjudged. The reaction from Copenhagen was swift, unified, and unequivocal. Well, the idea that Greenland was for sale was met with a mixture of disbelief and indignation. Section 6. The View from Nuuk. While leaders in Washington and Copenhagen debated, the most important voices were those in Greenland itself. The reaction from the island's political leaders was just as firm as Denmark's. Greenland is not for sale. That was the consistent message. Kim Kielsen, who was the premier of Greenland at the time, stated plainly that while he valued a good relationship with the United States, his country was not on the market. His successor, Jens Frederik Nielsen, went even further, writing, "Enough is enough. No more fantasies about annexation. The political class was united in its rejection of the idea. This response reflects a deep-seated desire for self-determination, not for a new form of dependency. Polls consistently show that an overwhelming majority of Greenlanders support the long-term goal of full independence. The primary obstacle has always been economic viability. How could a new nation of 57,000 people support itself without the annual block grant from Denmark? The American proposal, in a way, attempted to answer this question with a check. However, for most Greenlanders, the answer was not acceptable. Surveys conducted in the wake of the controversy showed that most people did not want to become part of the United States. There is a strong sense of national and cultural identity in Greenland, tied to the Inuit heritage, the Greenlandic language, and a unique way of life. The prospect of being absorbed into a superpower of 330 million people was seen as a threat to that identity, not a liberation. The view from Nuuk was clear. Our future is our own to decide, and it cannot be purchased. That was the sentiment. The discussion about buying Greenland did not happen in a vacuum. It sent shockwaves through the network of American alliances, particularly in Europe. A group of 7 European nations issued a joint statement with Denmark, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Spain. They affirmed that only Greenland and Denmark could decide on matters concerning their relationship. The idea that a powerful country could use economic pressure to redraw sovereign lines was alarming. It set a dangerous precedent. The move was seen as undermining the very rules-based system that Western alliances like NATO were created to protect. NATO itself was put in an awkward position. When the leader of its most powerful member muses about acquiring territory from another member, it creates deep internal friction. The fallout damaged the perception of the United States as a reliable and predictable partner. Headlines often oversimplify complex realities. International law does not provide a mechanism to buy a country against the will of its government. Any change would require years of constitutional process between Nuuk and Copenhagen. The annual block grant exceeds $600 million. Long-term commitments would run into the tens of billions.